We're now going to take a deeper look at what the skills of skimming, scanning, and reading for detail are. By the end of the lesson, you'll understand what these key reading skills are and how they can help us in the IELTS reading test. But first, let's take a look at the reading skills broken down into two groups. We have locating information, and we can consider skimming and scanning the main skills for doing this. We also have comprehension, which is reading for detail and reading for full understanding. First, let's take a look at skimming, which is reading a text very quickly to get the overall general idea. When skimming, we don't read every word carefully. Skimming is also a kind of speed reading, and we use it to locate keywords, numbers, and figures. In actual fact, when we are scanning, we hardly read any of the words in the text. Now let's look at comprehension. When reading for detail, we're reading to carefully understand the full text meaning. You will only want to carefully read small parts of text in the IELTS reading test. That's because of the IELTS reading time limit. If you were to carefully read every single word in the articles given to you during the test, you will not have enough time to complete all questions. When answering questions in the IELTS reading test, you will want to use all three skills, and they do work very nicely together. They will help you to answer questions quickly and carefully. So how do the core reading skills work together? Well, first you will want to skim and scan over big pieces of text. This will help you to locate the information that you want to get out of the text to answer questions. Once we have located the passage or part of the text that we want to know more about, we can then read for detail, which means to get a full understanding of the text's meaning. We can think of it as step 1 being skimming and scanning, and step 2 as reading for detail. In terms of the IELTS reading test, we can think of the steps like this. We are given a question that we must answer. So first we need to locate where the answer is. To do so, we will skim and scan through the whole text instead of reading every single word. Once we've located round about where the answer should be, we can then use step 2, reading for detail, to get our full answer to the question. By using these 3 core skills, we can definitely answer all of the questions in the IELTS reading test and stick to the time limit. Let's take a look at some examples of what skimming is. I'll show you a question where you'll need to use skimming, and it will be similar to something you could get in the IELTS reading test. I'll then show you the text. So, choose the heading that best matches the paragraph. Children are addicted to work, or parents are partly to blame for work addiction. And here is the text, but to skim read, I only want you to read the first and last sentence in the text. This is a very useful skim reading technique. So please only read the first and last sentence in the text to answer the question. Here it is. Let me read through these 2 sentences as well. Work addiction may be caused in part by a person being pushed too hard by his or her parents in their earlier life. Whatever the case may be, our families play a major role in developing an addiction to working. So which of the two headings matches best? Either children are addicted to work or parents partly to blame for work addiction. Well, it's actually parents partly to blame for work addiction, as the two sentences highlight that families and parents pushing children can cause work addiction. So here we can see how skim reading the first and last sentence can really speed up our understanding of a text's meaning. Let's move on to scanning. So much like skimming, I'll show you a question similar to something you might get in the IELTS reading test. Then I'll show you the text where you can find the answer. Now, I want you to do this as quickly as possible, so try and find that answer in as short a time as you can. Here's the question. What is the name of the tech expert in the article? So there's a clue here, we're looking for a name, and of course a name requires capital letters. This might help you find your answer. So here it is. So did you manage to find the name of the technology or tech expert in this article? Well done if you did, and the answer is Ben Wood. We can see from this example of scanning for information that we hardly need to look at any of the words in the text, and we simply run our eyes quickly over the text to find the key information we need. So let's take a look at reading for detail. The main goal of this short paragraph is to agree that crime is sometimes justified or okay, or suggest businesses can learn from illegal organizations. Okay, here is your text, and please read it very carefully. I'll give you some time to do so. Okay, let's move on to see what the answer to this question is. Is the main goal either to agree that crime is sometimes justified or that businesses can learn from illegal organizations? If you need more time, please do pause the video. So the answer is that businesses can learn from illegal organizations. For this question type, it would be hard to answer by only skimming and scanning, because we wouldn't really get a full understanding of the whole text. So we need to carefully read all the words in the paragraph we can see. Okay, so let's quickly go over these 3 core reading skills, and I will say we'll be practicing them throughout the remainder of this course. So, up first, we have skimming. Here is an overview of what skimming is. Skimming is very fast reading. We're reading only to understand what the overall idea of the text is. And this can be done by running your eyes fairly quickly over a text. And this will help us to internalize or understand what the key words in the text are. You can also quickly read the first or last sentence in the paragraph, just as we did previously. And you can also look at the first sentence only, as this will sometimes give you some indication of what the text, the paragraph or the passage is about. The first sentence is often called the topic sentence, which you may remember from the IELTS writing section of this course. So that is skimming and a few ways that you can skim read. Now let's move on to scanning. Scanning is also a kind of fast reading, and in actual fact, we can consider it rapid reading. You're hardly going to read any of the words in the text, if any at all. Read the question and search for keywords or synonyms associated with the question. For example, if the question is asking you about sports, you may want to look out for the name of certain sports like basketball or football. You may find that the answer to the question is hidden in that part of the text. Remember that if you're looking out for dates or figures, you need to look for numbers. And if you're looking for the names of things, you need to remember to look for capital letters, just like in our example. And here is reading for detail. Reading for detail is often the final stage of reading comprehension. First, you may want to skim and scan to find out where the information you want to learn about is. We read text to fully understand its meaning. When we read for detail, we read every word carefully and think about what its meaning is. Again, I will say you will not want to read every single word in the IELTS reading test, as quite simply, you will run out of time. So that brings us to the end of our lesson on skimming, scanning and reading for detail, but we will be practicing these skills again later in this section of the course. So that brings us to the end of the lesson, and I will see you again soon.